So IBA was asked to deliver a support package specifically for the Indigenous business sector, and that was a $50 million relief package. So part of our business support package was fundamentally options for our existing customers to defer their loan repayments and to get 0% interest. We provided access to an independent panel of partners to provide business impact assessments. This is at the start, and it's still ongoing today, by the way. And fundamental issues around that were that, we had to assess what the COVID impact was and provide strategies for businesses to consider options, both strategically and financially, as to how they might, come through COVID, for want of a better word. And part of that also was to outline to those particular businesses what other government support arrangements were available. Initially, the package was delivered at a $100,000 cap. That was revisited in March this year, and the Minister approved an increase in the package component up to $200,000. So the business impact assessment, generally designed to provide advice regarding navigation of the COVID crisis, an impact assessment around positioning, cash flow management, and assistance to access available stimulus measures from other federal and state bodies, as I said before, up to $200,000 in the form of either a loan, a grant, or a combination of both, and always assessed on a needs basis. The grant component is capped to assist with ongoing, fixed costs, purchase of equipment, and generating revenue, because fundamentally what we found was a lot of businesses were pivoting and they saw opportunities to buy assets to go into a different revenue stream opportunity. Any loan that we provide to customers under this package has a term of up to 5 years. They do not have to make any repayments in the first 12 months. Interest is capitalised, and the interest rate is substantially lower than I think what you would see in a commercial banking environment. And there are qualifying and eligibility criteria for the package, and I'll go into that a bit later, I think, with some questions. We do provide other resources. What we found is that customers were coming to us and they weren't ready, for example, in terms of the information we required. So we offered access to business workshops, fact sheets on how to keep their businesses going. We launched a 4-part video series with Terry Jenke around things like their employer obligations, financial responsibilities, managing contracts, and access to advice around what is insolvent trading as well. So quite broad in context of what we offered. We also offered access to special support services if customers weren't ready, how they could be ready as well. So that's it in a nutshell, in terms of what that package looks like. We ran an EOI process, so customers would lodge an expression of interest on our website, and then we would assess the viability of their expression of interest. Fundamentally, obviously, one of the key issues for us in dealing with Indigenous businesses is they must be at least 50% owned by Indigenous parties or persons, and they must be controlled and managed by those Indigenous shareholders. So we generally found that some people who were lodging EOIs weren't eligible on that basis. Some people were lodging EOIs not understanding that IBA is a commercial loan organisation from a business perspective, and therefore they expected that we were just doing grants, and that wasn't the case. So quite a few of our EOIs were, I suppose, ineligible on that basis. But the process is or has been that we are still had the contract extended as at 30 June this year. Initially, it was only expected to be in place for a year, but obviously here we are. Melbourne, I know Melbourne and New South Wales, for example, still in lockdowns. So we've had the package extended to 30 June next year. So it's still there, and there's still substantial demand. Yeah, sure. We actually talked to the Indigenous parties, Raghu, and are comfortable that they're actually, understand their business and are the ones who are driving the conversation. One of the conditions of the eligibility for the package is that your business must have been registered as at the 31st of March 2020. Now, that's a pretty key date because I think everyone's probably aware that that was pretty much the date that COVID started. That's a condition that's set by the minister in terms of the grant that was provided to IBA to fund this package for the sector. That is, I suppose, from that date forward, I suppose you would have started your business in a COVID environment. So that's the critical date. That does not mean, though, that IBA cannot help you. IBA can still consider your needs, even if you're a startup, under our standard startup package as well. Any business structure, as long as you've got an ABN, you're eligible. As long as that ABN was registered as at the 31st of March 2020, whether you're a sole trader, a partnership, a PTY Ltd, an ORIC registered organisation, or a not-for-profit, then you are eligible to apply for the package. The limitations are around the business size. So and again, this comes from the contract with the minister. If you've got more than 200 employees or over a certain size in terms of turnover, you're not eligible. But fundamentally, any business structure that you were in business as at the 31st of March 2020, i.e. had an ABN, you are eligible. So one of the challenges around that is the business readiness stuff, and it just depends what information you've actually got ready to provide. In a lot of cases, IBA collects information about customers in particular, and we can support our customers and provide that information to the consultant who's doing the report. The general process is that most of the time they need to get a fairly decent snapshot of your business, and I know that the process with most of our partners is they would probably ask for about 2 hours of your time to do a Q&A, and then they would ask you to provide information in terms of the financial aspects, because one of the eligibility requirements of the Indigenous Business Relief Package is that you must prove that you've been impacted by COVID. Well, a lot of the things we're finding is that where customers, in particular, for example, are looking at new opportunities, we are providing a substantial level of what we call external business support, and engaging with our customers with expertise to actually develop strategic plans and business plans and financial plans to move them forward as well. And we've done a lot of work around that space, Andrew, to actually support customers to access the capital under the package.